The Proclamation of the Holy Gospel according to Luke. Each year, Jesus' parents went to Jerusalem for the feast of Passover. And when he was 12 years old, they went up according to festival custom. After they had completed its days, as they were returning, the boy Jesus remained behind in Jerusalem, but his parents did not know it. Thinking that he was in the caravan, they journeyed for a day and looked for him among their relatives and acquaintances. But not finding him, they returned to Jerusalem to look for him. After 3 days, they found him in the temple, sitting in the midst of the teachers, listening to them and asking them questions. And all who heard him were astounded at his understanding and his answers. When his parents saw him, they were astonished, and his mother said to him, "Son, why have you done this to us? Your father and I have been looking for you with great anxiety." And he said to them, "Why were you looking for me? Did you not know that I must be in my father's house?" But they did not understand what he said to them. He went down with them and came to Nazareth, and was obedient to them. And his mother kept all these things in her heart. And Jesus advanced in wisdom and age and favor before God and man. The Gospel of the Lord.
Our Gospel passage for this Sunday, this Feast of the Holy Family, is taken from St. Luke. We have been reflecting on submitting oneself to another in love and in faith. As I said earlier, the word submission connotes something negative for our generation. But when we look at the readings and the example of the Holy Family, there is a type of submission that is based on love and faith. And it is a submission that liberates, that makes all people grow. In the first reading from the book of Sirach, we are told that in God's plan, parents, the father, the mother, have been given places of honor and authority. And children submit, not as slaves, but as people who recognize that their parents have been appointed by God to guide them. And when their parents' mental and physical strength begins to fail, we children should not think that their honor and authority have become lower. No, in fact, the contrary. We should submit more by being considerate, by being more loving, by being more caring. That's the type of submission. In the second reading, St. Paul tells the Colossians, there is a form of submission to one another that is called forgiveness. When we stretch our patience and kindness, and by that patience and kindness, we are able to submit to forgiveness rather than to anger, hatred, bickering, and destruction. And that is motivated by love, only love. Now the Gospel. We have the Holy Family of Jesus, Mary, and Joseph. The Gospel depicts them as a faithful, pious Jewish family, submitting to God's will, submitting to God's law. We already know how Mary and Joseph followed the law when they presented the infant Jesus to God in the temple. You know, Mary and Joseph could have exempted themselves and said, well, we don't have to follow the law of Moses. After all, our child is the Son of God. We are above the law. But Mary and Joseph showed to us there is a value. It is an indispensable element of faith to submit to God's law. And here, they attend regularly the feast of the Passover, just like any regular pious Jewish family. They went to Jerusalem. Now, something dramatic happened. On their way back home, Mary thought that Jesus, who was 12 years old then, was in their company. The same with Joseph. But no, Jesus decided to stay behind. And this caused anxiety, consternation in Mary and Joseph. And rightly so. And so they went back to Jerusalem, taking this tiring journey. Now, let us not be too quick in misjudging Jesus. Is this an act of defiance? Was Jesus, a 12-year-old adolescent who was beginning to see this adolescent rebellion in himself? Well, as an adolescent, Jesus was probably also regaining his own personality. But look at the encounter. When Mary and Joseph found Jesus in the temple, discussing with the experts of the law and scriptures about holy things, Mary asked Jesus, "Why did you do this to your father and me? We were anxious." The response of Jesus, "Why did you look for me? Did you not know I should be in my Father's house? Did you not know that I should be about my Father's business?" So Jesus is telling his human parents, "Don't you know? I am submitting myself to my Father who is in heaven. This is his house. I was sent here to do his will, and I am already fulfilling his will. Your son, mother, father, your son is submitting himself to the will of the one who had sent him." So, the parents are learning from their son what it means to be holy, to submit oneself to the will of God. But look how Jesus also submitted to the will of God. Jesus knew that this Mary, this humble woman, and this Joseph, the humble carpenter, were the ones chosen by God to be his human parents. And so at the end of the story, he submitted to them. He went home with them, lovingly obeying them. And Jesus, with Mary and Joseph, became a holy family, meaning they submitted to God's will and they performed their roles according to God's will. And God's will is that they will take care of each other. They will preserve their common mission to promote God's kingdom here on earth. Mutual submission arising from their common submission in faith to God, the God who formed them as one family, the God who brought them together so that they will be a witness to God's kingdom. My dear brothers and sisters, the example of the Holy Family is for us to emulate. We cannot be like them, for we are, sinners. We are not immaculately conceived. We are not the divine children of God, but still, we can learn from them. We want to preserve our human family. Let us learn how to be humble. Abandon pride. Learn how to submit in love and submit in faith to the God who has brought us together. It is heartwarming to see families that continuously submit to one another in loving patience and consideration. And how edifying to see families that together submit to God's will for them. You know, one consolation that I have, as a priest is to get in contact with these families who are struggling, just like any family, struggling with their relationships, struggling also with their relationship with God. I won't mention names, but I tell you, we priests are very much edified when families, couples come to us, when they struggle. How do we submit to God's plan and to each other? Today is December the 27th, the feast of St. John, the beloved disciple, the feast of St. John the Evangelist. Remember, at the foot of the cross, Jesus entrusted to him his beloved mother and entrusted to Mary, his beloved disciple. A new family is born when Jesus submitted unto death to the will of the Father. That's how the church was born. Let every family be born again and again, be renewed at the foot of the cross as we submit to God's will. The word has been exposed. Let us now fulfill it.